Welcome to another DragonLance Saga review episode. I had to remind myself what I'm doing. And yes, I'm a little bit early as per my schedule, but I'm early. What do you want? It is me, Sham Reap Ember the 22nd. My name is Adam, and today I'm going to give you my spoiler review of The Dragon Well by Dan Willis. Now, I will be spoiling this story, so if you don't want to know it, stop watching now. I would like to take a moment and thank the members of this YouTube channel and invite you to consider becoming a member by visiting the link in the description below. You can even pick up Dragonlance gaming materials using my affiliate link. Now, this is just my perspective. If you disagree with me, that's okay. I welcome hearing your opinion on literally anything. But this book in particular, for this particular stream, I would invite you to share your thoughts if you're not going to be joining us live in the comments whenever you do have an opportunity. These books are very strange. They are young adult, not even really novels. They're like novellas. They're like 170-ish pages each. I think maybe 180 something. But they're, well, no, see, now I'm talking out my ass because this was like 233, if I remember correctly. So but the point is they're still very, very short books. So if you're interested in being able to just sort of burn through a Dragonlance book in a day or two, these are kind of the go-to Dragonlance books, the young, like the junior novels. I mean, all Dragonlance novels are directed towards youth, but these ones specifically, the new adventures, are for an even younger demo. I think it's ages like 10 and up. But anyway, interesting stories, and let's get into it. Now, on the other side of this pre-written review, if you happen to be joining live, go ahead and throw in your thoughts or comments and stuff, and then afterward, we'll just sort of riff a little bit. It's autumn equinox today, so happy equinox, everyone. What does that mean? It means it's the new season, changing of the seasons. This is normally when you go out and harvest your garden. I am late in going out and harvesting my grapes to make wine, so I have all of that to look forward to. Anyway, it is again moving into fall and Halloween season, which is what I think of October as being. So it's like the best. I can't wait. Anyway, let's get with the review. So we pick up with Madoc in Cairngorm Keep. He's pacing, trying to figure out why he's unable to prompt the emergence between Asvoria and Nearra. He doesn't quite believe that Davin has truly turned against him, and he hasn't heard from Oddvar in a while. So he sends his familiar out, which is the falcon Shera, to find Oddvar and tell him to seek the ice goblins in the Vingard Mountains for aid in capturing the companions who fled Arngrim's destruction. The companions are hiking through the very mountains, knowing winter's snow is only days away, and decide to stop at a trading post that they come across for provisions. The owner of this trading post is a dwarf named Dog. He equips them and allows them to stay the night. They leave and the storm hits in mere days. They spend a week trying to pass the mountains and end up getting lost. Davin goes out hunting for game to eat and returns to see the party tied up by bandits. He begins to draw an arrow back in his bow when he's stopped by a mountain man and war veteran named Set Eye. This is the best character that we have met in all of these books thus far. He takes, first of all, he ends up like liberating them from the bandits, teaches them how to fight, how to survive in the wilderness and the mountains. And he reminds me of this old paladin that I used to play in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, my very first character that I got all the way up to like 20th level, and then I just sort of retired him, and I ended up playing his daughter. But he ends up being like this wise old man that people would seek for help or advice and stuff. It's just sort of like the next evolution of the character into an NPC. And that's what this guy reminds me of, like straight up. It was just like, sort of like coming home almost. It was really, really nice. Anyway, he's hunting a massive unknown beast, but ends up helping the companions through as they pass through the mountains in the snow. They finally hear the beast's call and end up parting ways as the companions travel through the night, trying to avoid the danger of the beast, and Set Eye is going after it. They come across a goblin camp with a human prisoner. It's the ice trolls that Oddvar made a deal with. And they're arguing on whether this is the human that they're supposed to kill or bring back. The companions attack with surprise, and eventually have the surviving goblins running off. They rescue the human, whose name is Mud. Seriously. Who tells them that he was looking for them, just like... And first, let me just say really quick. Dan Willis actually lives in Utah, or at least when he wrote this, he lived in Utah, and he got some advice from Tracy Hickman, who also lives in Utah, with right here next to me. So, he's kind of shit with names. I'm just going to put it out there. Mud is your human name that you came up with? How long did it take you to figure that out? Mud. And then dog for the dwarf. Really? Dog. All right. Set I. So it's SET-AI is the name of the war veteran. Set I. All right, dude. He's shit with names. Anyway, he tells them that what he was looking for was them. Just like the goblins, in fact, were. So he ends up bringing them back to his village just as Oddvar is kicked out of the ice camp with the goblins, because the goblins died. So many of them ended up dying that they were going to kill Oddvar for having set them against these companions. So he ends up leaving the ice goblin camp and heads to the bandit's hideout. And the bandit's name is Gadian. Now, Gadian is a character that Maddock told Oddvar to go to if the ice goblins fail in capturing them. It's someone that owes Oddvar like aid or assistance or something. They're also in the mountains, presumably, here at this point. So it turns out that Gadian is the one that's controlling this massive beast with a gem that Maddock gave him. So he is compelled to help Maddock, and the beast has been raiding the town of Potter's Mill, the very same town that the companions and Mud are now located in. Mud was sent out by an old seer and healer of Mishakal named Shemnara. Again with these names. Not Shannara, Shemnara. Just so you're not confused. She wants them to help defeat the bandit, and by extension, the beast. Just then, the beast attacks and nearly wipes out the entire companion group and most of the town. Actually murders some of the town members. What we learn is actually Shemnara's brother, too. He's kind of dark, but they don't tell you that until the very end. Anyway, let's see. Just it kills them all. And so it's almost going to kill Davin when it stops. And then it just leaves, like just pops smoke and like runs off. Don't understand why until later, and it's a big mystery. Anyway, we're assuming at this point it left because Maddock clearly doesn't want Davin or Nearra to be killed by this creature because he wants them to live. One, he wants Davin to live because it's his son, presumably, and he's helping him further his goals as far as he's concerned. And he doesn't want Nearra to be killed because he wants the emergence to happen so Asvoria takes over Niara's body. And so that's what we're thinking at this point, is that that's why the beast ran away. So anyway, Shemnara heals everyone, and they spend the night trying to figure out what to do next. They wake the next day, and they're given the official request from Shemnara saying that she has foreseen the future, and the companions will kill the beast. She asks that if they go defeat Gadian and kill the beast, that they will then be rewarded with Niara's memory as reward and valuable items. And then she like slides under the carpet. Oh, and you're going to lose a friend in the process too. So it's like, no, I need your help. You're going to do, I've already seen you've done this in the future. Like it's already written in Destiny. So you're going to go after Gadian and his army of bandits and win these are kids, by the way. We have to constantly remind ourselves of this. These are not the companions from the heroes, like the Heroes of the Lance, where they're adults that came back to their home after having already adventured. These are straight up kids on their first adventure. And they're supposed to go against a well-known bandit and his gang of merry men and a massive mysterious beast that literally just almost killed everyone. And win. But she saw it, so it must be true. And the rewards, it's so funny, is she's going to help Nearra find how to get her memory back, not get her memory back, and they're going to get valuable rewards and lose a friend in the process. That's not a deal like I would ever make. And I'm not the only one. The characters don't want to make it either. Davin is 100% against it. Elidor is 100% against it. Catriona, because she's a Solamnic Knight squire and wannabe Solamnic Knight, is totally down to defeat the bad guy that is the scourge of the town. And Nearra doesn't really want to do it, but Sindri wants to do it because Sindri's a Kender and he wants to do everything stupid. That's what Kenders do. So anyway, that's where we're at. So Davin agrees with everyone saying, okay, here's the plan. This is what we're going to do. We're going to go look at the tower from a distance. And if it is massively guarded by a bunch of people like we suspect it to be, we'll just turn back around and tell Shimnara, thanks, but no thanks. Because that's what kids would normally do at best. But this is a book about them, so they have to do something heroic. So they travel to the tower, and as they plan to turn back, now hours away from town, they're captured by the bandits that captured them earlier in the book. Those bandits who were run off by, damn it, what's his name again? Sedai. They were like beaten up and ran off by Sedai, have been trailing these kids waiting to get revenge. Apparently this whole time. And so they like straight up capture the kids, tie them up. They're totally outnumbered, but then they're saved by the beast. It comes in and it literally destroys all these creatures, all these bandits. And so the companions, now terrified that the beast is going to once again whip their ass and kill them like it almost did in the town, decide to find the largest tree they could find and climb up and spend the night up in the tree because they don't think that this beast can climb a tree. I got news for you people. Bears climb trees. If a bear can climb a tree, I think a gigantic, massive creature bigger than a bear, but similar in its sort of look and mannerisms is going to still be able to climb that tree and get you. Like you're dead. Like that's all there is to it. However, the beast seems to just disappear. And in the morning they climb down, they see the beast's footprints, but it's not really around. And again, leading me as the reader to believe that that beast was just saving them, not trying to kill them. Or not just prowling around, randomly and just happened upon them. It literally freed them from this bandit group. So they come out of the tree, and that's when I forget where I am. Gadian and his men are standing there waiting and capture them and take them to Gadian's keep. So Gadian realizes how desperate this town really is if they're going to send children to go defeat him. So he tells them straight up, look, you're obviously not worth anything. You're just stupid kids. I'm going to go in the morning with all my men and kill everyone in the town and destroy the entire town. And I'm going to take my beast with me and we're going to kill everyone. And you're going to go sit in my jail cell. And so Catriona tries to break away and attack Gadian. He literally stabs her in the stomach. Just kills her right out. Of course, a stomach wound takes a long time to die from. It could take days in some cases, but usually hours. And so they throw her in the cell just to sort of dig the knife in a little bit deeper. But we remember that Oddvar came to this guy in order to capture them for Madoc, not to kill them. And so we have this really great exchange between Madoc and Oddvar, where Oddvar's like, what the hell are you doing? How did you know the one you stabbed wasn't the one that Madoc needed? And he's like, well, it just happened to be that way. And it just worked out. But anyway, you said that the one he wanted had blonde hair. This one had red hair, so it's all good. And I needed to prompt the emergence. Because if I get the emergence out of Asvoria and you don't, then I'm going to get rewarded for Madoc. How long has it taken you to try to get this emergence to happen? And it just comes in my house, and I do it in a day. What do you think Madoc's going to say about that? And so Oddvar's like, you son of... Damn it, you're right. So he's fuming, and he's really pissed off that this asshole brigand is going to end up doing the job that he's been trying to do now for, month? Totally messed up. So they, Oddvar gets all their equipment and armor and weapons that was taken from them, goes down to the jail cell, puts it right outside the door, and he's like, look, if you want to save Catriona, you need to pay attention to that necklace she's got around her neck. Here's your stuff. Find a way to get out of here. And he leaves. So he's trying to help them get out so that he can then be the one that prompts the emergence rather than Gadian. So he helps him escape. It's just insane. So the look at the necklace, and if you guys remember in the last novel, the necklace came from the Prince of Arngrim, and it was just this little lion's gem, like lion head gem thing. Nearra looks at it, and Asvoria inside Nearra is like trying to get out to say, I can help with this. I know how to make this work. And so Nearra gives up her body so Asvoria can come and take control of her body. And she ends up like making a little healing potion, which ends up saving Catriona. And while they're doing that, the other people are noticing that the smoke from the torches on the walls and stuff is sifting through a crack in their cell wall. And so there's clearly like some sort of venting happening between there. And so Elidor, Sindri, and Davin are like breaking through the wall. They find an actual tunnel on the other side of the wall in their cavern. And while they're making this poultice or this sort of potion for Catriona, Asvoria just opens the cavern with magic. So there's a little disconnect here between the way magic works in any generic fantasy, which is however the author wants it to work, and magic in Dragonlance. Dragonlance has magic very restricted. You are a part of an order of high sorcery or you are murdered. That's the choices you have. Like you're either with us or you're going to die. So, or you're Race Limajir. He's the exception to everything. So he's straight up like Dan Willis ignoring everything about how magic works, where this woman is now a healer and a sorceress, but then she's also able to cast spells that unlock doors without having to had memorized said spells or do anything really. It's just everything is just at the whim and flippant and like there's no rules for anything. And I don't expect them to follow game mechanics for Dungeons and Dragons. It's a novel. But at least lean into the fact that you're on Krynn. Magic is governed by the moons. Depending on where they wax and wane, your magic is more powerful or less powerful. And use that as an excuse for why she's able to do stuff like this. Rather than just having her like flippantly do wondrous things. And like the Shemnara, the seer who's blind. She uses sorceress magic. But then she also is a cleric of Mishakal, conveniently, as every healer seems to be, which doesn't make any sense either. Like, you're either one or the other. You don't get both, man. That's not how it works. So, you know, little things like that, I get nitpicky about because it is what adds or takes away from it actually being set in Dragonlance. Like, you can't just say, as they've done in all these books so far, this is set in Dragonlance and it is after the War of the Lance, and not somehow reference world events or just paradigms that are essential to this setting. Like, you have to have it, this stuff makes some sort of logical sense. And instead what they're doing is just coming up with some fantasy story, which are more or less entertaining, and then just saying it's in Dragonlance so that they can sell it. And that's it. That's the only difference, is that it has Dragonlance logo on it. And it doesn't even have the good Dragonlance logo. It's got the shit 5th Age logo on it. Anyway. Okay, where was I? So, she opens the door so they can get all their equipment. And then instead of trying to sneak out the front door, they end up going through the tunnel. So they follow the tunnel. They're seeing like these corpses littered with arrows and just, you know, dead, mangled corpses as they're going further into the tunnel, which is why I would think maybe this is like a Edgar Allan Poe thing, like Cask of Amontillo, and they're going to get boarded up too and just die here. But they end up, you know, fighting through it. Is definitely a skin suit, Aaron. Thanks for doing live, by the way. They get to the end of this little tunnel and it opens up this vast cavern that just goes down like another 40 feet or 45 feet with this sort of railing staircase. And at the very bottom is this sort of well filled with this blue liquid and like these dragon statues. Nearra, prompted by Asvoria within her, who has now hence returned in control of her own body, and she's like crying to Davin, don't ever let me do that again because that's a horrible experience. And I'm thinking Linda Blair from The Exorcist, is the experience that she had. And so, they get down there and she's like, oh, this is the well, the dragon well, the name of the book. And they're like, what the heck is the dragon well? And they're like, well, ancient sorcerers used to bleed out dragons, and their blood had some magical properties. And if you bathed in the well, it would either kill you or it would enchant you and give you magical powers or some sort of power, ostensibly. And they're like, how the hell do you know this? She's like, I don't know. So Davin knows that there's another soul inside Nearra. Nearra, and he knows who it is, Asvoria. Nearra knows that there's someone else inside of her, but she doesn't know anything about it or anything because Davin's being tight-lipped and because he doesn't want to admit that he's the son of Maddock, and that's the only reason why he would know. And so it's frustrating at this point because you should know by now. You should straight up know that you are possessed by another soul. It's been like suggested so many times that it should just be like an obvious thing. More importantly, Shemnara should have been able to tell her that as well. If she's this seer and prognosticator with all this information and knowledge, why didn't she just say straight up, like, hey, you got two souls in there, right? Like, that's why they're hunting you. Like, just come out and say it already. It's frustrating as a reader to like know so long, see so many suggestions that if it was you in the story, you would start asking these types of questions. But no one else is. Everyone's just like, la, 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 let's go in the Vingard Mountains in the middle of winter. Because that's what you do if you want to live, right? Okay. This is frustrating because I actually really enjoyed this novel. But the more I dig into reflection of the overarching story, I'm getting upset. So anyway, they're like, well, we can't leave this well here because if Gadian sees the huge hole in the cell that we're supposed to be locked in and us not being there, he's going to clearly follow us down here, find it, and then probably use it. I don't think he would know that it's here already because there's huge layers of dust. There's a bunch of dead corpses everywhere. And then the dead corpses should give you a clue that there's some bad juju here. Let's just maybe destroy it and leave, or destroy it or leave. Like, some decision needs to be made. So Davin and Elidor are like, look, he just told us in a few hours he's going to be attacking and murdering the town. So we need to escape and warn the town. And Catriona is like, no, I'm not going to leave this well here so he can become uber powerful, Gadian. I'm going to sit here and destroy it somehow. Sindri agrees with her, and Nearra says that she wants to stay behind as well to help destroy the well. So Elidor and Davin end up leaving. The party splits, and the other ones stay here. So we'll pick up with everyone that's staying at the well here in just a second. So Elidor and Davin end up squeezing through this little ravine, gets to this like huge drop off, but there's a bunch of trees. And so they do a straight up The Revenant, where they like run off a cliff and grab onto a tree and then climb down. I just want to see a realistic depiction of this event at some point in my life. Like, it wasn't The Revenant, was it? The one with where he like has to climb inside of he like gets attacked by a bear. And anyway, it doesn't matter. So anyway, he fell down and he was like breaking through trees and stuff. But you would just break every bone in your body. You wouldn't like wrap your arms around the tree as if it had no limbs sticking out to like pierce your body or knock you around to, like bounce off of or anything. It's just like, it's always just this easiest of things. Yeah, of course, you just run off a cliff and you grab onto a tree. It's like if you're in an elevator and you're plummeting to your death, just jump right before it hits the ground and you'll be fine. No, that's not how it works. Anyway, it worked that way. So they grab on the tree, they climb down, they're heading through the forest, and they're having like this really great character moment. And this is part of the novel that I really, really appreciated, where they're like straight up bonding over being sort of bad guys. Like, you know, Elidor's a straight up thief. And so Davin's ribbing him a little bit about being this, you know, thief. And then Elidor's like, look, you've been lying to the whole group the whole time. I know your secret. He knows part of it. And so Davin's like, you know what, you got a point. You know, I really do appreciate you. And he's like, you know, I really appreciate you too. And they just sort of connect like, you know what, let's be blood brothers. And so they literally cut their palms and like press their hands together. This was the thing in the 80s when I was a kid. Blood brothers were a thing. Like me and my friends would cut our thumbs and like do the little like, you know, mixing of your blood. And, you know, in your stupid childhood brain, you think, well, if your blood's in them and their blood is in you, you're literally blood, so you're brothers. And you don't ever think that, no, the blood is leaving your body. It doesn't go back in it. Like, that's not how it works. But you're kids, and that's just what you do. Okay, so now they're like besties, and they're running through the forest, and they hear like this thrashing and screaming of the beast. And they like kind of, you know, working their way through the forest to see, and they see Sedai, the old warrior that rescued them on the mountain, laying there almost dead. He's been battling the beast, and the beast goes away after it gets hurt for a little while to sort of get its second wind, and it comes back and attacks him again, and he fights it off, but he's almost dead. He's like, you guys need to get out of here. This thing is going to kill me, and it's going to kill you definitely because you're just stupid children. We always have to remind ourselves these are kids. And so they're like, no, we're not going to leave you. You saved us when we needed it. We're going to save you. Clearly forgetting that it almost killed them not a scant 6 hours ago and a day. So they make up this crazy notion of Elidor being the bait and just running through the forest and then circling around and coming right directly back at Davin. And Davin's just going to sit there with his bow waiting, and he's going to like let off like 5 or 6 arrows straight into the beast's neck. It actually works. That is literally what happens. And so the beast like pounces down on Davin right as it's like slowly starting to die, and it's just staring at him. It doesn't attack him. Now we've seen this twice now where it doesn't actually hurt Davin. It just, I mean, it hurts him as it's like knocked him down. It's standing on him, but it's not trying to kill him actively. So it's staring down at him. And Elidor throws him his hunting knife. He takes the hunting knife, stabs it in the beast's chest, right into his heart, killing it. The beast thrashes out, hits Elidor in his chest with its hind leg, busts his ribs, throws him back against the tree, and it describes him like hitting the tree and sliding down, which is another thing that never really happens. You would just like hit it and roll or something. You wouldn't like, but you always see it in cartoons that way. So I guess that's why he did it. Wrote it that way in the novel. So he slides down off the trunk of the tree, knocked out, presumably dead. We don't know. I still don't have a clue what that old warrior guy is doing that I can't seem to ever remember his name, Sedai. And like Davin's being crushed to death by the weight of this massive, multi-tonned beast that is now dead on top of him. And then the beast changes form into a human, and it's not quite dead. It's almost dead. And it's like looking over, it's like, Davin, I'm so sorry. And he's like, what the hell? Where'd the beast go? And how do you know my name? And so it turns out that the beast is a guy named Senweir who used to work for Maddock. But when he and his wife got pregnant, they tried to leave Maddock's service. Maddock ended up transforming this man into a beast, made him kill his wife, almost made him kill his son, except he couldn't kill his son because it's his son. And then Maddock ended up taking the son and raising him. So this guy that Davin just killed, which was the beast named Senweir, is his own dad. It was like, I'm sitting here reading like, oh, come on. What? Yes, but that's so stupid. And like, why would that ever be a situation? But I like it. Like, it's so creative and interesting. And anyway, super convoluted story-wise. Davin's losing his fucking he's losing his mind because he just killed his dad. And he just realized his whole life was a lie. And he's trying to grapple with all these crazy emotions. And Sedai comes up. He's like, don't feel bad. You didn't kill your father. You freed him from Madoc's curse. If you should be mad at anyone, you should be mad at Madoc. But you need to not seek revenge because Madoc is an incredibly powerful sorcerer, as you know, and he will just murder you, and your life will be wasted. Because you are a talented human being, you need to focus on being and living your life, not on seeking vengeance. That will then dominate your life, and it'll probably just end in sorrow. And this whole time, he's like, but that was my dad. I just killed. Oh my God. Madoc's the liar. I need to murder Madoc. He has lied to me my whole life. You know, he made my father kill my mother. Just crazy stuff. Elidor ends up being unconscious, really hurt with broken ribs, but okay. Sedai can't really walk because he's really wounded from this beast. And so they make this little makeshift little carrier, and Davin is like dragging him all the way back to town. But it takes hours and hours and hours to get there, and he can't move very fast. And Elidor can't help him because he has busted up ribs. And Sedai can't really help him because he's hurt. So we know they're going to be doing that for a while. So let's go back to the Dragon Well with the other half of the party, where it's Catriona, Sindri, and Nearra. And they're trying to break this stone well with a hammer, and nothing is happening. And then suddenly they hear Gadian at the top going, "You're not going to break the well, and I'm here to use it." And they're like, "Oh, snap! We knew you were going to come here. That's why we're trying to break it." He's like, "I heard the whole conversation. I know it's magical. I'm going to take the magic." And Catriona's like, "Yeah, you should jump in it, and it'll eat you alive like acid. It'll destroy you. Jump in the well." And he's like, "You know what? That's a good point. What if it did kill me? I don't want to die." And he looks over the bandit next to him. He's like, "Yeah, you go." And he just throws him in the well like a great bad guy would. The dude plummets, falls into the well. And then we get like this almost Willow scene in Tyrosleen when the gigantic two-headed beast comes out of the well. This human bandit ends up turning into this monstrous Hulk-like abomination that just grows to 10 feet. Muscles are like bulging out of its body. It's all like, rah! And then the undead, or the dead bodies, the corpses, animate and come to life. And so like the three kids are like shitting their pants. Gadian and his bandits are shitting their pants. And now they have to fight all of the undead and this big mutated bandit trying to survive. So it's, again, the strength of all of these stories are the fight scenes. They're really entertaining, and they're written really well, even by the different authors and stuff. So they end up defeating them, of course. And Gadian ends up doing a one-on-one against Catriona. And she's learned so much from Sedai in terms of how to be patient and wait for openings and learn how to dance when you fight and stuff. He taught them all really how to fight. And so she's taking her time and, waiting for that one opening. She feints one way, he lunges in, stabs her in the shoulder, and then she sticks her knife in his gut, or her sword in his gut, killing Gadian, which should not have happened because he is an infinitely more skilled warrior than she could ever hope to be at this point in her life. But it was a very entertaining scene. So he's dying. However, when that giant creature was finally killed, it fell down, crushed a bunch of the bandits, but it also busted the well. And so all the liquid that was in the well fell down on Nearra. Of course, why would it fall on anyone else? But instead of it like mutating her into a creature, it like sucks into her skin as if she just needed some lotion really bad. And this well was just the perfect cocoa butter for her. So it just soaks into her skin. And we get this really interesting little back and forth between Asvoria and Nearra. But we don't know which one's talking to which and saying, "I'm more powerful than you. You cannot take my body." And it's like, "Let me out. I can save you." So it's like they're fighting with each other, and we're sort of getting a suggestion that Nearra actually is a sorcerer. Like, is she powerful? And she just never knew it before? And that's why Asvoria can't actually really claim her body? So we're getting that suggestion with this inner fighting that we're sort of hearing out loud. Then they're like, okay, well, now that everyone is dead and the well is destroyed, we need to leave. But then the Kender has to do what Kender have to do and mess everything up. So he sees this seal on the wall and he's like, I can reach that with my hoopak. And so he's like digging at it. Catrione's like, hey, let's get out of here, Sindri. What are you doing? And Sindri's like, no, wait, look at this. And Nearra's like, no, stop, don't open that. And just as the seal falls off, this spirit mist-formed dragon comes out of it. Its corpse is like back inside of the hole that the seal was containing it in. It was put there by this black brotherhood in times of ancient past in order to drain its body of all its blood and make this well, this dragon well. And it's pissed thinking that these people are the Dark Brotherhood. So Sindri does a little bit of like Sindri magic. You know, he's a Kender, and so he's like sort of fast talking the dragon, and the dragon ends up kind of becoming enamored with Sindri. He's like, you know, I usually detest two-legged creatures, but you're really entertaining. And he realizes that they weren't here to steal from him. They, in fact, wanted to destroy the well so that no one could take advantage of his power anymore. And they freed him so that he doesn't have to be trapped for all eternity anymore. He can now go move on to death in the afterlife and stuff. And so he's telling them, like, I've already wasted too much time. I don't have much time left on this planet, but I do want to destroy this keep. Is an act of vengeance. You need to get out. You can get out through the hole that you just made. And so they're all running out through the hole, which leads to like the sewage entrance. So they're literally running through shit and piss and like almost puking. I mean, it's very, I can't remember any of the references that I'm trying to remember at the moment. Anyway, runs through all the sewage, which then breaks through to a river that is what they're going to be following to get out of this entire tower complex. So as the dragon is destroying this keep, completely decimating it, it creates this sort of like tidal wave of the river water, and it like shoots them down all the way through this underground river, and it busts them out like a broken water main in a yard or something. And it opens up into this big river that Davin, Elidor, and Sedai are walking right by. What a coincidence. And so they sort of re-meet up and they go back to the town. It turns out the town already fought off the bandits that had come to destroy it. And since the beast was already killed, it wasn't a real big threat anyway. And they're like all heralded as heroes, and Nearra takes care of Sedai and heals him up. And the whole time I'm thinking, now wait a second, who did they lose? Because Nearra said that they were going to lose someone, like lose a friend. And no one's been lost yet. And so I'm like, is this, like, there's only a couple pages left at this point. I'm like, they're not going to kill someone off now, are they? It ends up right before the dragon, like, tells them where to leave. It does, like, this breath on Sindri, the Kender. Since he knew that the Kender was not a wizard, and he could grant power to people, I think, though it didn't explicitly say what happened, it just said that he did that, I think the Kender's been granted dragon magic now. And that's the most terrifying thing ever. I mean, it's funny if a Kender thinks he's a wizard. But it's scary if a Kender's actually a wizard. Like, the Order of High Sorcery refused to allow Kender to study magic because of the potential danger that is inherent therein. So now, I guess it's going to be okay. Okay. So they go and have this big sort of end of Star Wars A New Hope meeting with the town council. And they all praise them as they come in. They give them armor and weapons and clothing and, you know, telling them how grateful they are and stuff. And they go to Nearra, and Nearra's like, okay, you guys are ready for your rewards. Here's your rewards. It's the knowledge of a job well done. Like, they're like, you all learned something from this experience, and that was the true treasure. And it's just like reading this going, I would slap her. I would straight up walk up to her and slap her across her dirty lying face, because that is a dirty thing to do. Promise treasures and then say it was the experience and knowledge that was the real treasure. What? No. Anyway, so she straight up outs Davin to everyone. So Davin has to then tell him that, yes, I thought I was Madoc's son, But the truth is that beast, that was my dad. And I had to kill him. And I brought us into the Vingard Mountains after Arngrim fell because I didn't want to work with my father, who I thought was my father, anymore. I wanted to work with you guys. And Nearra has this moment, straight up moment of Darth Vader, where she just, or maybe Eleven from Stranger Things, she like puts her hand out and Davin's like choking and like being squeezed to death by this invisible force. And she's asking him questions like, how could you do this to me? Why would you lie? And he can't respond because he's choking and being squeezed to death. And Catriona's like, stop, what are you doing? Stop. And meanwhile, no one realizes that, how the fuck is I'm sorry, again, how the hell is Nearra doing this? Like, how, she's a little kid. She should not be able to do this. But just everyone's just like, at this point, oh, whatever. She had the dragon ooze spewed all over her, so that must be where she's getting the magic from. So again, we're forced to grapple with the idea of, is this Nearra or is this Asvoria? Because the lines are blurred at this point. We don't know who it is. And so ultimately everyone forgives Davin for deceiving them. And because clearly he's risked his life over and over again to save theirs. So they realize that he is in fact telling the truth and he is a good person. And it's not his fault who his dad was or who he thought his dad was. So there's this really beautiful moment also as everyone's leaving. Oh, hold on. I don't want to get to that yet. So Shemnara looks at Sindri, the Kender, and says, you probably have a destiny that you need to fulfill rather than go with these people. Again, suggesting that he needs to go study magic because he was just granted magical power by this dragon, this ghost dragon. So that's the friend that they're going to lose, is Sindri going off to train in magic. But it didn't overtly say that, it just suggested it. And so I don't know yet, but that's my assumption that's going to be the next novel. And everyone else is just going to sort of try to find a way of getting revenge on Maddock so that Nearra can truly be free of Asvoria. And Davin does in fact tell them about Asvoria and how it's a soul within Nearra. So they all get that. But then that blurring between who is even stronger. And so as everyone's leaving, Davin sort of waits to talk to Shemnara. He leaves. Nearra sort of grabs him, pulls him around a corner. And they have this really great Han Solo, Princess Leia moment where it's just them two in this tight little corner area. And she's like, I need to know that I can trust you. He's like, I will do anything for you. I will give my life up for you. And she's like, good. And then she just plants this really deep kiss on him. And the whole time I was just like, yeah, finally. It was just like, I don't know. It was just like Empire Strikes Back. So they're finally going to be connecting, hooking up like kids do, just like pecks and stuff like that, holding hands. Woo. And then we cut to Oddvar outside of the building, like eavesdropping through the wall. And Maddox's falcon comes up and he's like, look, I went to look for Gadian. I found the keep destroyed. What the hell's going on? Oddvar fills him in on everything that happened without saying that he helped him escape, of course. And says, I think Nearra is much more powerful than you believe she is. And he's like, I wonder if she's realized her magical powers. So, yeah. Nearra was some form of a wizard or a sorceress or something that he then subdued, put Asvoria in her so that Asvoria could emerge from her and take over. And it just makes perfect sense. You would put a wizard's soul inside a wizard's body. Like, of course. I don't know why I thought ever differently, but it just didn't lead us to that conclusion as of yet. So Maddox's like, I'm going to go check out the town. You go get your goblin buddies, have a good night's rest, and let's sort of scheme on how we can get these damn kids killed and get this emergence happening again, because we've clearly failed thus far. So the falcon is like flying through the town, lands on the edge of a window, and it says something along the lines of, and then the falcon is sucked through the window, leaving nothing but floating feathers outside and a little bit of blood on the windowsill. So I don't know if it was Sedai that got it. I don't know if it was Shemnara that got it. I don't know if it was maybe Nearra. Like something just killed Maddox's familiar. So there's gonna be some explaining to do. I don't know. Anyway, I really enjoyed this novel. This was a lot of fun getting through and sort of having the story unwind. And, you know, this is probably my favorite story of all the 3 novels thus far. I think there's only 5 or 6 in this set. There might be more than that. But I know there's spin-off novels. I'm not going to read those. But as far as like this New Adventures one, I'm into it. And I can't wait to see what happens next with Nearra and her magic and Asavoria and Maddock and Davin and Catriona and Sindri and everyone. I don't want to see a Kender with magic, but as far as the story goes, I'm interested to see how it goes. I want to see what happens next. So it got me. So congratulations. Where's your name? Dan Willis. You got me. You definitely did. All right. So what do you guys have to say about this? Let me scroll up really quick here. Chris, thanks for joining live. It's good to see you, man. Why is Utah the capital of Dragonlance? I don't know, Andrew. I don't think it is, but it's just where some of us live. Thanks for joining live, by the way. Maybe it's just you, but when the temperature drops, it's time to read and time to get around the RPG table. 100%. I'm with you on that. That's exactly where my mind goes, is just snuggling up with a cup of coffee or a warm drink and just reading under a blanket. Like that is, to me, that's the best. The best. So yeah, characters in the book stay consistent with the 3 different writers. Yeah, the characters are very consistent between the 3 writers. The story beats are a little bit weird and it's very sort of episode of the week-ish, you know, rather than, it's like, what's good? It's like a He-Man or something, where Skeletor in this episode is going to try to defeat the heroes this way and fails, you know, or like Gargamel in the Smurfs or something. Like he's always defeated in the end. That's kind of what this feels like book to book. But like the bad guy Maddock, who is supposed to be this incredibly powerful sorcerer, just sucks at setting up dangerous situations. Like he really needs to get involved himself and stop dealing with Oddvar, this Thewar dwarf who's clearly incapable of doing anything that he sets out to do. Like he's clearly a bumbling idiot. Like get rid of him. What are you doing? You're making bad guys look bad, and not in a good way. All right, so let's see. Did you know the bear's sexual organs are on its belly? What? No, I did not know that. That's the weirdest note I've ever seen in one of my comments. ASMR Chess, how you doing? Good to see you, man. Thanks for joining live. I appreciate you. See, magical orders are like quality control. I agree with that, Aaron. CCR 422, how you doing? Thanks. I really appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in live. Back in the day, Dragon's novel has amazing covers, talented artists. These are writers that drew you into the world. I agree, Andrew. And these covers are the worst. I understand they need to change the design because it's meant to be junior readers. They need to differentiate it from regular novels and stuff. I'm not into the illustrated style on these. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't work for me at all. Who is Big Dog? Hey, Big Dog Luggers. Am I Big Dog? I don't want to be Big Dog. It's funny. There's this running joke throughout this whole thing where Sedai tells Davin that he needs to be the leader of the group. And so Sindri starts calling him boss. And the whole time Davin's like, stop calling me boss. All right, boss. And that's just like a running joke through the whole books now. And he started calling Catriona Cat because who wants to say Catriona all the time? Except it just pisses Catriona off. And so everyone starts calling her Cat. So it's just really kind of funny how that stuff works out. No snide comments and stuff. It doesn't tie enough with the overall Dragonlance setting. No, this whole setting doesn't tie in enough with Dragonlance for me. It's a fun fantasy setting, and I like the little references of locations and stuff that do tie in with Dragonlance, but it doesn't feel Dragonlance. And I think part of it is that they want to explore new territory, and so it's all sort of new situations and stuff, but it just doesn't tie in enough for me. Let's see. Jeez, now that's going to be a thing. Slided in Rambo, First Blood, fell through. Oh! There you go. Fell through the tree for real, breaking branches. That's how it's supposed to be done. Thank you, Rambo. You think all of the deaths you've experienced enough good stories, it's hard not to be critical even if you enjoyed it. Yeah, No, I think that's totally true. And look, the fact is I love fantasy anyway. So whether it's Dragonlance novels or whether it's any other rando fantasy novels, I think it's fun, you know? I cut my teeth on Dragonlance and Dungeons and Dragons, but fantasy is fantasy. It's all good. Let's see. You feel the year of Dragonlance resurgence? You see new members, new fan sites? I hope so. I hope it comes back. My big concern with everything that's happening with Dragonlance right now, aside from people just capitalizing on immediate popularity of it, which is always a thing, so that's nothing to really complain about. It's going to be the 5th edition Dragonlance, which inherently means it's different, that it doesn't stay separate. It doesn't have every one of those little nuance idiosyncrasies that make Dragonlance special. It's just going to be the war setting for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. And though that may be enough for a lot of people, it's not really enough for me. It doesn't really matter to me because I still have 1st edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Dragonlance stuff and everything after it. So I can always return to where I'm happy. But for all of the people who are cutting their teeth on Dragonlance now, they're going to think that 5th edition Dragonlance is what Dragonlance has always been. And so they're going to go back and read the novels, and they're going to be like, wait, this doesn't make sense. This isn't how Dragonlance is. And it's going to be weird. It's going to be this weird sort of discord that's unnecessary if WotC just stayed true to Dragonlance. Anyway, that's my fear. Can we get some appreciation for Adam's energy and enthusiasm? Thanks, man. I appreciate you. Minister Mundane. How you doing? Great name. Thanks for joining live. Appreciate you. Let's see what else. Oh, I appreciate that ASMR. I think a lot of, because I pay attention to analytics and stuff for this channel, and this is a little behind the scenes-y stuff, so it may not be interesting for everyone. But people think that they don't actually like watch all videos. They see portions of a video or a title of a video, especially some of my ones that are more socially critical. And they think, oh, well, this guy is just a conservative hate monger that's ruining Dragonlance, so I'm not even going to bother with it. Or I see people come into the channel and then immediately leave because, you know, one, not everyone's going to like me, my look, or my approach, or my take on stuff, and I can accept that, and that's life. But you see so much like sort of migration away and then incoming, there has to be a reason for that. So either this channel is not what they thought it was going to be, or they think it's something that it's not. And, you know, so it's never going to be that super big popular channel, not just because of Dragonlance, but because of this guy right here. And that's just the way it is. Oh, thanks for the super chat, man. I appreciate you, ASMR. Really, I appreciate that. Let's see, Kender Wizard with no fear of and spells. Yeah, exactly. That's terrifying. I love Tasselhoff Burfoot. The most terrifying moment in all of Dragonlance novels for me was in, I think it was Draconian Measures, when one of the Draconians had to go into Pax Tharkaz, and he was like surrounded and hounded by like this clan of Kender. Like they just all swarmed all over him. That's terrifying to me. That's the worst possible. Like, what do? You're screwed. You're just going to end up walking away with no possessions at all, just naked, which doesn't really matter when it comes to a Draconian. But if it was you or me, it'd be terrifying. Let's see what else. Yes, it is live. Let's see. You missed the Black Robe with a Quasit familiar. It seems like a cool series. Hey, Chuck, thanks for joining live, by the way. I like the whole familiar thing with wizards. I didn't really get a lot of it in Dragonlance, though. You know, like Dungeons and Dragons, yes. But with Dragonlance, like none of my friends who played wizards ever even tried to get a familiar. It just wasn't really a thing for them, but I always loved the idea of it. And the mechanic for it is there, so I don't know. It was just a taste thing or something. How are the writers chosen for each book? Michael, thanks for joining live. I don't know. Super unsatisfying answer. I have no idea. Especially back then. I mean, this was, you know, during where WotC first started taking over. They stopped focusing on 2nd edition, which was really focusing and pushing Taladas heavily. And they started pushing Saga Edition, which was narrative-based, forgot dice and levels and hit points in place. They put cards, literally a fate deck of cards. So it completely changed the way that you sort of approach the game. And they started writing these novels. And so WotC was really just trying to get back the prime heyday moneymaker that Dragonlance was when it was first released in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. And they just could never really do it. And so they canceled the line. They said straight up, we're never going to make Dragonlance again. And, you know, the novels did fairly well. And so they continued going for a while, but they ended up stopping those as well as sales declined and stuff. So they didn't like the setting because it didn't turn a profit that they expected it to turn. Because honestly, you know, most fanboys of Dragonlance like me, second edition was the heyday. But financially speaking, they were losing money. They started trying to do the Toledo thing in the first wave of second edition, and it didn't really sell very well. And so they did the Heroes of the Lance box set for the second phase, and that didn't actually sell very well when it was made. And then they tried to do the Dwarven Nations of Krynn as the third wave, and they kept doing these module series in between, and it just never picked up the pace that they saw when Dragonlance was first released in AD&D. So they just canceled it altogether. What are you going to do? Let's see. You love the channel. You subbed, but phone broke. Had to start over with a new one. That sucks, man. Oh, well, thanks for resubbing and joining again. I appreciate you. Thank you, Minister. Let's see. For you, Brightblood standing his ground against the dragon so the group could get away in the third book of Spring Dawning. Yeah, that was a great moment. Ugh, just pure heroism. I was bugged that he didn't grab the Dragonlance, but what are you going to do? It's his family sword, of course. Thank you, Chris. That's very generous of you. You have no clue what the heck a super chat is. Now you do. It's just a way of calling out a comment, I think. Super chat, hot train. ASMR, you're too good to me, man. Thank you. You thought I ragged on Kaz with the cow tipping statement was hilarious. Thanks. Yeah, not a big fan of Kaz, to be honest. But I enjoy the novel, even though I may not like everything in it. I heard some of the other Minotaur stuff that Richard Knack did was great. And so I'll eventually get to all that someday. But I don't know. Even Legend of Human, I thought it could have been better. You know, it could have been a little bit better. Anyway, that's all I had. Thank you guys so much for your time and attention, your super chats and stuff. I really do appreciate that. The truth is I do this as a hobby. This is just me sort of returning back to a period in my life where I had a whole lot of fun discovering Dragonlance, and to turn that around now as a professional, to be able to use a little bit of my knowledge to try to bring more awareness to this seemingly forgotten fantasy setting for a bunch of other people is just a joy. It's just a lot of fun. So even if you disagree with my particular takes in any of my setting videos, that's okay. Let me know your opinion, your perspective. If you like this channel, then I would ask just subscribe to it if you're not already, and like the videos. Let me know what you like about them and what you don't like. I don't expect you to live your lives, supporting this channel. You have your own lives to lead. But when you have an opportunity to step in and just say, hey, or, show your face in a live chat, that's why I do this, just because I love engaging with other people who just love this incredible fantasy world. So thank you all so much for tuning in. That is it for my review of The Dragonwell by Dan Willis. What did you think of the third novel in the new adventure set of novels? Do you have a favorite part of this particular story? You can always email me at info@dlsaga.com or just leave a comment below. That's probably the easiest way of doing it, right? This channel is all about celebrating the wonderful world of the Dragonlance Saga. If I don't look at it, then sometimes I forget what I'm supposed to be saying here. And I thank you for joining me in the celebration. Thank you for watching. Until next time, Slàinte And by the way, that's Scottish Gaelic for good health. It's just basically a cheers. It's just me saying, have a great day, be healthy and happy. See ya.